So, one of the things that we have conversations about the most is, can people expect big payouts on personal injury claims, on any given personal injury claim? And the short answer to that is no. I think some people have an inflated idea of how much money you can expect to get after a car crash or after being hurt on someone else's property. And I think that's really natural because whenever you hear about injury settlements or verdicts in the news, those are always the exception and not the rule. I remember when I was a kid, I watched the Adam Sandler movie Big Daddy. And in it, he was like independently wealthy. He didn't have to work. It worked fine for a movie, but the explanation for it was that a cab ran over his foot and he'd been living off the money ever since. It's completely unrealistic, as is expecting what you see in the news to be similar to your case. The reason that everybody heard about the McDonald's hot coffee case was because it was so strange and because the verdict was so large. But that was more of a reflection on McDonald's, the choices they made and how much money they have, rather than almost anything else. So on average, your regular car crash where someone maybe has a broken bone, usually the insurance policy itself controls what is an expected outcome for a case like that. Did somebody purchase a small policy of insurance? In Missouri, the minimum that anybody has to buy is what's called 2550 coverage. So you might only be able to expect $25,000 from a more routine car crash. But if they bought more insurance, a 5100 or a 100-300 policy, or if there's additional coverages, you can expect more. And that's part of what we do is we try and make sure we find all the different types of insurance that may be available to help compensate someone for their injuries. But injuries are based on actual damages. We had a conversation with someone about lost wages and what someone might do if they were unemployed at the time that they were injured in a car crash. Lost wages are not a hypothetical damage. No damages are hypothetical. People actually get compensated for how they suffered. So if someone happened to not be employed at the time of their crash, they may not have a claim for lost wages. And while that's tough for some people, it's also a balanced approach to justice because we don't want people getting paid out based upon what harm might have resulted. They only need to be compensated for what actually resulted. And that's an even-handed approach that weighs out the value of the plaintiff's injury against principles of fairness to the defendant. So if you get into a less severe car crash or a more routine car crash, or if you don't have tons of medical bills or a prolonged recovery with doctor's care, with doctor supervision, the result of your settlement or judgment might be not life-changing. It might be more compensatory, meaning it gets you a lot closer to where you started, maybe a little bit past it. Maybe for some cases it doesn't actually make people whole, but it all depends upon the facts of the case, and a good attorney can walk you through all those considerations and help you reach what works best for you, not only in terms of raw dollars, but in terms of how much time it takes to get that recovery.